Thank you. Please stand by. Please state your name after the tone, then press pound. Please repeat your name. Please state your name after the tone, then press pound. Please repeat your name. Please state your name after the tone, then press pound. You will now be placed into conference. This conference is being recorded.
Is Lem online?
Kirsten, are you having some technical difficulties?
Yeah, I get the same message as Joe Gerson yesterday, that it says that my live meeting is from July 2012.
Are you using the link that was sent to you?
Yes.
If you use a Safari browser, Marsha?
Say again?
I said, is she using a Safari browser? Because it doesn't really work with Firefox.
That I don't know. I use this. It's the same system I use as always. I don't know.
It don't work with Chrome either.
Well, I saw it yesterday, so in case I can't see it, I would just follow it.
Okay. Well, what I was going to tell folks is that if you're with your computer, but for some reason are not accessing the live meeting, Rochelle is here and can send the PowerPoint to you. So Kirsten, she can send the PowerPoint so you can follow along. Margaret, I didn't know if you were at your computer and could see PowerPoint or if you're in a place where you just iPhone.
Tell her to send it to me. I'm on my iPad. I can talk.
Okay. I think it would be good for folks to start to mute. There seems to be quite a bit of background noise.
Hi, Marcia. This is Lem, and I don't know who that was, but I'll keep an eye out for it, and I should be able to mute it in the background.
Okay, fantastic. All right, so are there others just on the phone that would like to have the PowerPoint slides sent to them by email as we get started?
I would, Marsha. This is Michael. Yes, I would.
Okay, so Margaret and Kirsten, Rochelle will be sending the PowerPoint to you.
Great.
Thank you.
Very good. All right, it is now 8:02, and I think we'll get started. This is a small group this morning, so I'm going to suggest that as I go through the presentation, if you have questions, let's just take them as they come up versus waiting till the end. Yesterday we got done early, so it seems to me that might be the better way to make sure this is the most helpful process as possible. This session is a briefing session. It's not meant to go through line by line the form. It's meant to give some overall information and give you an opportunity to ask any specific questions. We recorded yesterday's presentation, and we will be recording this one as well. And they'll be up on our Star Cafe room that we set up just for this planning process. Rochelle's going to give a little bit of information later on in the presentation about that Star Cafe room. So if we're ready, let's get started. I heard we have folks from Africa, Asia, the Midwest. Any other regions represented? Okay, good, good.
Marcia, this is Dick. I'm on the phone, not on live meeting.
Okay. Dick, would you like the PowerPoint slides sent to you so you can follow along?
Yeah, I'm having trouble connecting. That would be nice. Thank you.
Okay, Rochelle can do that. All right, let's get started then. Okay, so today what we're going to go over is want to emphasize a few things that were in the memo that was sent out, just some key elements of the process. We'll look at the planning process itself, the form, some information about estimating costs and when the budget timeline, et cetera. A little bit about your administrative planning, your regional office planning, and the general timeline. We'll talk about some resources and assistance and some things we're trying to beef up this year to help support the planning process. And again, we'll end with some questions discussion, but as we go through this presentation, if you do have questions for those that are on live meeting, if you'll just change your icon to blue to raise your hand, and for those on the phone, just interrupt me. I'm okay with that, and let's try doing Q&A as we process through the presentation. So the first thing I want to do is talk a little bit about key points, and if you recall in my message out to you last week, I talked a lot about this being a transition year. We don't have our feet fully grounded in the new strategic plan, but we're also not using the planning process from the former strategic plan around those 4 goal areas. So while there are elements of the new strategic plan in the planning form, we're not fully there. And there are a couple of reasons for that. One is staff need to get up to speed enough to understand what the board is asking them to do. And secondly, the executive committees need to have time to do some of their own planning around the program design and program choice direction that's a part of the strategic plan. So again, this is sort of a transition bridging year from one kind of planning to another kind of planning. The process assumes that planning is ongoing and adjusted based on situation. This is an emphasis that Shan wants to make sure you folks hear, that, you know, a lot of times we think that once we put something down on paper, that's it. And she wants us, we all want planning to be viewed as a tool for implementation that is then adjusted based on situation, circumstance, and changing needs. Toward that end, deadlines are milestones in the process. The February 4th date is the date that ends planning. It's just a milestone conversation and consultative process that we hope happens throughout the year as you plan and implement programming. All right. So the planning form, if you've taken a look at it, it looks different, but it has a lot of the same elements as last time, just not framed around the 4 goal areas. One thing I did want to emphasize today is the form assumes that each program understands that they're now on a 3-year planning cycle, and they're being asked to identify what year they are in, year 1, year 2, or year 3 of that cycle. I'm bringing this up specifically for those folks that are working with program staff to say, if you haven't had the discussion about what cycle each program is on, you should do that, or folks are going to have a challenge trying to fill out this particular question on the form. The form is divided into Part A and B. Part A is something that you would fill out every year of the 3-year cycle. Part B would be filled out just every 3 years, the first year of a new 3-year cycle. However, this year, everybody's doing Part A and Part B and to get on this 3-year planning cycle. You will note that if you submitted an FY 2013 plan, your form is pre-populated with the name of that program and the description you submitted last year. We're doing this because, if you recall, we now have a shared Star Cafe room that has what we hope will continue to be the official name and description of every program we have here at AFSC. So in order to retain that one source, we're pre-populating the name and description from that source. You can make changes in it or edits, but again, that's why that information is there. There's a section on evaluations that was asked last year, but is a bit more specific this year. We want to know within the 3-year cycle exactly when you're planning evaluation and the estimated cost. Again, there are several places where there's a strategic plan connection. One is we're asking for staff to, within whatever abilities and understandings they have, to express a theory of change for their program. We're also asking some elements of the program design and program choice requirements that are in the new strategic plan. We're not asking everything that's there. By 2015, we'll have a more structured process that aligns more clearly with the strategic plan. These are just a few initial steps.
Okay.
There is information, again, asking about constituency groups that your program has a particular focus. This is not about identifying everybody that might be a part of a movement building program. This is more about if you have specifically targeted in your program strategy and activities to work with a particular group. So for example, if you're working with young men of color, you would identify that as a particular targeted group that you're focusing activities and hope to have some effect or impact along with them. So it's pretty specific. I know Integration and Impact is going to be working with you on identifying broader stakeholders, but this is really specific to program strategy and if you're focusing on a particular constituency group. Part B should look somewhat familiar, and it's really a very high-level 3-year plan. We're looking for major strategy and significant activities. What I said yesterday is if this high-level 3-year plan takes more than 2 pages for you to complete, it's probably way too detailed. This is not your work plan. This is just a place for decision makers to understand the scope and scale of the work you're planning on doing over the next 3 years that is framed under that theory of change. Continuing, if there are no questions, let's talk about estimating cost. The form, just like last year, asks you to the form asks you to list the estimated cost of the program, and it's part of the submittal. I believe you've received some information from finance, and you can also, if you haven't gotten support from your AGS and you need it, they can help you in developing this estimated the estimated cost for your program. Estimates are due with the program plan on February 4th. Doesn't mean you need to line anything out, but you do need to be able to have the number on the form and have some backup information so that you understand where that number came from. Work on plans and cost estimates will be finalized into that general line item format that we're all familiar with. Those should be submitted to the AGSs in early May, and they'll work with you on this specific timeline for that. And finally, finance will take those and finalize those spreadsheets and upload them into Excel by the end of July. So that gives you a little bit more detail on the budget timeline, which I was not clear on when I sent the memo out last week, so a little bit more detail there. Another piece that we didn't talk about very much, well, not at all, actually, in the memo that went out last week, is your administrative planning. This is due on February 4th as well, and I'm in conversation with your AGSs right now in developing a very simple planning tool based on function that you'll use to create your administrative support plan. This is going to be really straightforward. I think it'll probably be the easiest way you've done your administrative plan since I've been here. We're not going to try to use the program planning form and try to switch it up and change it. It will just be a separate, very simple document. I'm hoping that that's going to be to you soon, but I'm saying that by early in January you'll have it, and I'm hoping that that'll give you enough time, and I think it will. Yeah, I suspect it's not going to take you very long to complete that. Just to review the general timeline, planning and budgeting process is happening now through January. On February 4th, you need to have uploaded all your plans to Star Cafe. There's a review process that will be happening through your AGS, the General Secretary, yourself, the Executive Committees, the Board Program Committee, and the Board of Directors. And, you know, that process continues from February through September. And then the final budgets are due to your AGSs in early May and, again, uploaded by Finance in July. Okay.
Marcia?
Yes.
Marcia? This is Margaret in Chicago. Just one quick question. On the budget figure that we are going to submit with our plan on February 4th, if I understood you correctly, so we need to have some basis for the estimate that we're submitting, but we do not need a line-by-line item.
On February 4th, you will not be submitting a line-by-line item. There's some feedback here. Might be helpful. You need to use something to estimate these costs. So behind that, I think what Lee O'Neill sent out might be helpful there, which is kind of a not all of the line items, but the general categories.
Right.
But you don't need to submit that with a plan.
Great.
Okay?
Thank you.
Sure.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Here, I just kind of wanted to say out loud what, I'm envisioning the way this process is being resourced. And, of course, as regional directors and associates and assistants and country representatives, you're key to helping program staff develop these plans along with the associate general secretaries. We also provided a guide to you that goes along with the planning form. We're recording these live meetings, and they'll be uploaded to the Star Cafe site that Rochelle's going to talk about in just a minute. And then planning and evaluation, the staff team is available for questions and consultation. Questions can be sent to anybody here. Rochelle is kind of the keeper of all things Q&A. So if you want to send your questions to her, that would be the most efficient way to go about it, but any of us can, of course, help you out. So I'm going to have Rochelle talk for a moment about what's happening on Star Cafe and what will be available to you and your staff probably at the end of the week.
Thanks, Marcia. Hello, everyone. I'm Rochelle Sakiamoa, and I'm also with the Planning and Evaluation Department. I just wanted to talk about one resource that we'll try to make available for everyone, hopefully by the end of this week. And it's going to be a space in Star Cafe where we have put some information related to all related to the planning process. The page is going to contain some notes and tips that we can offer staff as they're going through the planning process. And some of the information that we're gaining from the notes and tips is that we've worked with one program to help them to develop their program plan sort of earlier than everyone else, and we're going to use that plan as a guide for people, or something that people can refer to as they're going through and filling out their own forms and also going through their own planning process. We'll also have a few tips, some things that might not be clear. We'll have some more explanation on how you might go about filling out this information in the form. Another part of the Star Cafe that we're hoping to develop that will be ongoing is a frequently asked questions area or a question and answer area, and we're collecting some questions that we've gotten from people so far that we feel like might be helpful for other staff as they go forward with their process, with their planning process. And we'll be putting some of the answers to those questions, so that'll be an area that people can refer to for assistance. There'll also be some resources, and we are collecting some resources that we find might be helpful for folks. Some resources that may come from other organizations that we might rely on or that people might find useful. To help with their planning. And also we hope to have a survey in the Star Cafe, and this is an area that we are really hoping to get support from everyone out there who is a part of this process, because we want to hear feedback from people, as you know, about the forms, about the process, about the resources that we provide, and whether it's helpful, and your ideas on how we can continue to improve and make it better and most useful for staff. So again, you will receive a link to this room hopefully by the end of this week, and also if you miss it, it will be in the AFSC Weekly Bulletin, another way for you to find it. And as Marcia said earlier, you will also be able to find the recording of these meetings in the PowerPoint located in this room as well.
All right, thanks, Rochelle. We put the Planning and Evaluation team's contact information in this presentation as an easy reference for you and your staff. Rochelle and I are probably would be the primary folks for the FY 2014 planning process, but any of the team can assist. If you have specific questions regarding evaluation, Kirsten Helene is our primary contact for that kind of question. And of course, Laura Horwitz has a little bit different hat, organizational learning, but we all sort of help each other out. So if you've got a pressing question and can't find anybody and Laura's the only one around, please call her. When she worked with Pew, she was in the Planning and Evaluation Department, had a little bit different role there, so she does have some experience in this area and some great wisdom. So that's the formal part of our presentation, and we'll open it up for some general discussion and questions. If you have something you'd like to say in the live meeting, if you'll change your little box to blue as raising your hand, that way I'll know that want to be called on. If you're just on the phone, let me just say right now, why don't we open it up and you can ask your question with get in the queue. So, is there anybody on the phone with questions? Okay, I see Russell has raised his hand in the live meeting. Russell?
Yes. Thanks very much for the presentation. And it sounds like a much more well thought out process that we'll be going through now. I have to admit I'm a bit behind the learning curve because normally Patricia goes to these meetings and she was unavailable this time, so asked me to attend. And also to convey to Asia staff at our Skype meeting on Friday some of the things that have been discussed in this meeting. For that reason, I think it would be very useful if I could also receive the PowerPoint. Also, I'm not sure about where to get the key documents, such as the program planning form and the guide. Are they on Star Cafe somewhere?
Those were actually sent to Patricia because they are customized for each program. But Rochelle can send that email, forward it to you so you'll see that, what was said and how it was transmitted.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you.
You're welcome. She's also going to send the PowerPoint to you.
Thank you.
Right. Other questions, comments?
Marcia,
yes.
I'd like to ask a question with regard to the planning form on page 5 with regard to the constituency groups. You have the lesbian, bisexual, gay, transgender, and others. So my question is whether people living with HIV/AIDS are also considered a special constituency because it's one of the target groups in our project.
Part of the challenge here is we've got to do better with understanding some of the nuances of our programs and who the constituency groups are. What I would suggest is that prior to this, there is a section for a narrative just on page 3, the groups and people you work with, insert a 100-word narrative. I would suggest you specifically talk about AIDS there, and then what will happen is integration and impact will pick that up, and the next round of planning you'll see that we'll start tracking those particular groups as well. But thank you for bringing that to our attention.
This is Celestine. I wonder if I can ask a question.
Sure.
Yeah. Actually,
Sorry, you just dropped off. Still not hearing you.
I think you'll come back. I think the electricity went off. Yeah, I'll come back.
Okay, should we go on? And if Celestine is able to get back on, we'll take his question then.
Yeah. Did you hear what I said?
No.
Yeah, I think the electricity went off. You'll come back within 3 minutes.
Okay. All right. Well, did I hear that Margaret had a question as well? Maybe not. Is there anyone else that has a question as we wait for Celestine to return?
Marcia? This is Mark. I'm sorry, I do have a question. I was trying to unmute my phone. About about the evaluation piece, if it has been if a program has not been evaluated externally, will there be some tips or suggestions from planning and evaluation that could assist us with that section?
Yeah, actually, Kirsten has been developing some helps and standards and processes. So if you have a program that needs some specific help with developing an approach for external evaluation, it would probably be good to contact her.
Margaret,
yes.
I would be very happy to talk to you and your colleagues about it.
Okay.
Please just send me an email and we can set up a phone meeting, just like what Marcia is suggesting, and we can talk about how to plan it.
Okay, great. Let me talk to staff and see which ones, and we can. Would you want to talk to me first and then talk to a group?
Excuse me, I couldn't hear you.
I will send you an email and we'll set it up.
Very good.
Just to let everybody know, we will be meeting with Dick and the regional directors to talk in general about evaluation and putting together a calendar. So there's conversation happening, but Kirsten is very much available for detail regarding particular program needs and questions about evaluation. Okay. Is Celestine back?
Yes, I'm back. Thank you so much. Actually,
Okay.
3 questions. Question number 1 is whether actually on these groups to work with whether some of the questions are optional or not. Like, for example, on the LGBTQ groups, if, for example, you don't work with any of them, you just leave it out. And also, I was also looking at the gender group, female and male, on whether if you work with both, whether you tick both of them or something like that. That's question number 1. Question number 2 is
how about I take them as you ask them?
Sure.
So
Go
I
ahead.
don't forget. Thank
Sure.
you. The groups that are listed are optional, and you should only identify groups where you have a specific focus or strategy. Like, we work with women on income-generating activities, and there's a specific focus on women. If they're just a part of the group, but they're not a specific, there's not a specific focus or strategy that is very specific to females or LGBTQ or any of these other groups, then don't identify it. So it's very optional. It's based on your specific plan and focus. Is that helpful?
Very helpful. Thank you.
Okay, so your next question.
So my next question was related to medium term and the short term and long term and the work plan.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking at which one of them really goes into strategy area. Should we pick short term or medium term and put it in the strategy so that we see the high level program plan linked to those goals up there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so what is your take on that?
This has been a challenge because of how the AFSC logic model was originally developed, and linking the strategy to the intended results. What I would tell you is that Part B, where you're asked to do strategy and activity, is over the 3-year period of your program. So you would only connect those to directly to a short or medium-term intended result.
Okay.
But there ought to be logic that we can see how you're moving toward that longer term.
Yeah. No, that's good. So therefore, if I get what you're saying is the choice is ours to see which one from short term and medium term we can actually put in strategy.
Right.
And probably pick those that really show the strategy most.
That's correct. And I guess I would be very careful with including intended results that don't seem to connect with the 3-year plan. Because that's part of the logic of this. If it's not connecting, how are you going to get to that intended result?
Right. Of course, the second one is, the third one, which is the last one, is linked to joint program information. I know there is a line there that shows that we can identify other collaboration work that we've had before, but I really wanted to ask why you singled out those two, or whether actually you couldn't add the others.
The reason those two are singled out is because those are the only that are currently identified through the Global Program Planning Group as joint work, and therefore are supported by integration and impact. It doesn't mean that we don't recognize other joint work that's going on, but it's going on at a level that it is not, that's through regional work that we may or may not be aware of. And it doesn't mean that other collaborative efforts like Wage Peace or the Middle East programs won't rise to the top to be something that integration and impact helps shepherd. In particular, the two strategic initiatives that are in the strategic plan would come under that umbrella as well. So it's an issue of what is, if you will, official at this time, but it's not supposed to be limiting.
Thank you, Masha.
Sure. Thank you, Celestina. I'm glad you got back on.
Thank you.
Other questions, comments, concerns? Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. I'm not one to just fill up space. So if we're ready to move forward, let's do that. I mentioned yesterday that we're very interested in providing support along the way, and that's one reason why we created this Star Cafe room to kind of continue the conversation. But we're also, if there are particular concerns or questions or something that we need to gather back around a phone conference call or another live meeting, very willing to do that. So please be in touch, give us feedback, let us know where there might be problems or opportunities that we could, care for in another collective conversation. So I don't want you to feel like, well, we've done the live meeting, now we're complete with what we need to do is planning and evaluation. We want to make sure that this is a supportive process for the long term rather than just one point in time. So be in touch, let us know. Rochelle will be communicating that link to the Star Cafe room so that you can share that not only with your staff but also to take a look at what is happening there yourself. And especially I know, Russell, you said you're meeting on Friday, so after that conversation and others that you have with additional staff, let us know what the issues and problems are, and maybe we can provide some more support. Anyway, thank you so much. Appreciate you being on the phone, and I'm sure that we'll be in touch along the way and connecting up as we move forward. So
thank you, Marsha. Thank you.
Bye.
And Rochelle, thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you, Masha.
Bye. Thank you, Masha.